Fred Flintstone. Done.
Yeah.
And there he is.
It's a good name.
But I don't have any equipment right now. He does have claws. And we have the spell called Sandblast. And what it does, blast a target with high velocity rock shards. Gathering the rock from ambient grit and is slow, making the spell take 1.5 times as long to cast as most. Its damage is strongly reduced by armor. So it starts pretty strong as a spell, but this spell kind of runs out of oomph after a little while, but we'll learn some more. I have all these spells we can learn. Stone Arrow is really strong. I don't know what Brahm's Barreling Boulder is, but it looks awesome. Unleashes a massive rolling boulder in a given cardinal direction. The boulder squashes and knocks back creatures it strikes, suffering wear and tear with each hit. If it strikes a wall, it will explode into fragments of rock, doing damage that is strongly reduced by armor. This seems really cool. The boulder sometimes veers side to side and will disintegrate if it leaves the caster's sight. Oh, this is cool. Let's get that one. But we can't do it yet, but let's do that later.
Okay.
Okay,
so it'll hurt people on impact and then also potentially like ricochet off of a wall into smaller fragments.
Yep, and
Sweet.
explode into people. Let's see if we can find something to kill with this
Sandblast somebody.
This is a
I don't know
potion.
if I plan on swearing a lot, but I just wanted to.
You are allowed to swear. Swearing
okay.
is allowed. This is not a child's podcast. It's not intended for kids. Okay, now we're close enough we can sandblast this endoplasm. It's gone already. See, we did it. This is the greatest troll elementalist of all time.
Yeah, get that gross stuff out of here.
Get that. Yeah, it's gross blue goo. We don't want that in our house. I think this might be the blue goo's house that we've entered, but it's fine.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now it's our house. So cool. Now we get to start talking about the Pistons. So this season, I went out of my way to. We should start with we are both seasoned Pistons fans. Yep. I would say you more so than me, no doubt about it. I spent a fair amount of the late 90s and early 2000s not caring about the Pistons until they started to come back in the early 2000s. And then we had a lot of Pistons fandom post-college. And I have my credentials. I have been a season ticket holder of the Pistons, so I earned that. And then this year...
During the one of the worst seasons...
Truly one of the worst seasons of all time, yeah. We went to almost all the games, though. Despite them being truly offensively bad.
Yeah. With very unlikable players.
Charlie Villanueva being at the top of that list.
Yeah, my least favorite Piston of all time.
I would say so. I would say possibly... I'd say that's true for me as well, yes. This team has the potential to have a few of those, though, soon. If they keep up this type of antics. They're
pretty bad, but I think that one of the reasons I've been so disappointed is because I didn't find them like offensively unlikable until recently.
I was gonna say the team. Okay, so the players themselves are not unlikable yet. I'm not putting them on that list yet. Right?
Well, James Wiseman is unlikable.
Is that
yeah,
true?
James Wiseman. Yeah, get out of here, James Wiseman. Not interested in you in a Pistons jersey ever again.
Why? Because why?
He's a walking foul. He doesn't know how to set
true.
a screen. His body language is terrible. He just he hasn't put it together. And he doesn't learn from his mistakes.
He takes minutes from Bagley and from from Duren.
Yeah.
He doesn't get many minutes anymore, though. Is he getting minutes still?
No, not really. But I think there's been a recent injury to Isaiah Stewart, so we might have to endure some more James Wiseman minutes until he gets traded or cut or something. But there's a lot of weird things to figure out with this team. I think but not I can't think of too many other people that I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Knox, and it's funny because every time I'm ready to trash talk Kevin Knox, he like knocks down 2 threes in a row and pulls us back into at least like a respectable deficit, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll let up on Kevin Knox, and then he'll do like a couple more stupid things, and I'd be like, man, I can't wait to never see him on the court again, at least not in a Pistons jersey. But Killian Hayes is also incredibly frustrating.
Is getting very frustrating. Everyone's on the Killian Hayes frustration bandwagon.
Yeah, because figure it out already.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like all of the things. I had this belief at one point that like, in order to be a solid NBA player, you needed to be exceptional at one thing. Like, what are you bringing to the court that like you're exceptional at? Mm-hmm. And we can go back to a bunch of different people and what their contribution was going to be. Like, I remember when we drafted Greg Monroe. This is like kind of a throwback, obviously, but when we drafted Greg Monroe, in my mind, he was like, oh, this is going to be like one of the best passing big men in the NBA. He's like Vlade or something, like just amazing passing. Like when he was at Georgetown, like you saw those highlights, incredible passer, great court vision. I thought maybe you could sort of like run the offense through him the way that Sacramento was running their offense through their centers, because they were both such amazing passers, whether it was Vlade or whether it was Chris Webber. And those are two of the best passing big men of all time. And, we talk ourselves into getting excited about somebody's skill set like that. And it never really materialized for Greg Monroe. And here we are with Killian Hayes, and we hear about his court vision, and we see it in flashes because he'll thread the needle with some interesting passes. But we also hear about what an amazing on the ball defender he is. Like he's supposed to be an elite defender and an elite passer, and then everything else is just really, really bad. But I haven't seen that kind of like next level like, wow, nobody can score on this guy type of defense that we've seen with other Pistons in the past, like real trademark of
Pistons of the current.
Yeah,
like we saw from the first like at least month from Asar.
Yeah, a few weeks of Asar Thompson being a good defender, and now he's like buried on the bench. For some reason.
For reasons I can't. Yeah. Okay, so but that actually gets to we're doing a great job. Well, I'm loving this.
So.
But I want to make clear, I want to say this finally, because I keep trying to stumble over saying this, but I think my biggest gripe is Monty. Like, Monty Williams is the gripe. It's everything you're saying. Every time you come to, like, oh, he's on the bench for some reason, or, like, we have gripes with Killian Hayes, or there's nobody on this team that I don't particularly like. It's like, there's something not adding up here then if all the players are things we like. I'm really getting a negative vibe from, this is me talking, of like, I don't like his coaching right now. I'm gotta give him more time than this, but I don't like his choices. He's tried to get all that stuff about Ivy in October, where he was like, oh no, I'm gonna teach him, and I'm like, no, this guy's actually awesome. Don't screw around and get him angry at us. And like, who knows if behind the scenes Ivy and Monty aren't getting along, and then that's why there's all this stuff going on, and none of this had to happen if you just played the right players the right amount of minutes.
Yeah, there is an element of that, but then there's also the element of like, I mean, are these guys just not Monty's guys? And
that's really painful, because that's a lot of draft picks. Yeah.
Why hire him then? It's
okay. So you're going even higher then. You're ready to throw Troy Weaver under the bus instead.
I don't. Kind of, yeah. But I also understand that he's a victim of circumstance, right? Like, I'm gonna be such an apologist right now, but I do like how he's drafted for the most part, except for the Killian pick, because we can like relitigate that over and over again about like how Halliburton should have been the pick, and I thought that Halliburton had a chance, but at the same time, like, 4 more teams passed up on Halliburton before the Pacers or the Kings finally took him.
Right.
Which was also surprising because they had a point guard, and
then the Kings gave up on him too.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't exactly give up on him, but they got a lot in return.
Yeah, very, very interesting trade that somehow might be a win-win.
It's an absolute win-win.
except Halliburton looks like an actual superstar, where
Absolutely.
like Sabonis just looks like a very good player.
Yeah. But what they need, he is what they
Mhm.
need.
Yeah,
It's
and it seemed
absolutely a
to work out
win-win.
for
I
them.
think it's a huge win-win. Halliburton, I'm watching right now, and he's just absolutely outstanding. I love watching him play.
Like as we speak.
Yes.
Oh, you got a game on behind the
Yes, I
video
usually
game.
have. Don't tell anybody else this, in case. But I usually have some NBA game on because this
Uh-huh.
year I got League Pass
Mhm.
because I was so excited about watching. Well, admittedly, the number one reason was because I wanted to watch Wemby.
Mhm.
I just had to watch as much Wemby as I could, which hasn't
Yeah.
actually been as great. I mean, he's still amazing to watch, but it hasn't been great either because they only have three more
They have
wins than
they
two more
have
wins than the
two more
Pistons.
wins. They've got 5 wins, and it's just so like I think the length of the losing streak probably
Distracts.
made like like the volume of criticism was a lot louder because of the losing streak.
Right.
Obviously, like if you're only winning 3 or 4 games before the turn of the new year, you're going to hear loud criticisms. But the Spurs have been almost as bad.
Yeah.
And you know the way that we're talking about like completely like abandoning everything right now, from Troy Weaver to
Oh
Monty.
my God, you're right.
We're not like nobody's saying that Popovich needs to get canned.
Oh my
right?
God,
And that nobody would, but like, you know, like let's look at it. Five
okay.
and
That's
28.
yeah.
That's their winning percentage is, you know, 15%. They're also
It's
very very bad.
ridiculous.
And they drafted. They basically did. Did you watch all of like the stuff, like the big production surrounding his draft? You know, like when they got
Yes,
the number 1 pick, and they were like,
absolutely.
they basically like were, you know, saying, "Oh, we're gonna raise more banners in here with this."
Yeah, they
And
like open new facilities and stuff, or like open a new wing
Mhm.
or something, right?
Yeah, there was a whole show of it. Like they had fans filling up the arena, cheering on the fact that they got the number 1 pick, just ready to like hoist a new trophy. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but they have 5 wins.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have 3. So we play the Spurs a week from tonight. It's not out of the question that we could surpass them.
Oh, that's wild to say it out
Like,
loud.
it's
because we
but I
have
mean, like,
somebody
what
right
kind?
before them that we could beat.
Yeah, we have.
I saw that
Utah
stretch where it's
tonight.
yeah, but Utah's 7-3 in the last 10. They were even worse before that because that means that they only had 7 wins for a while.
Yeah,
They've gone on a streak.
that Utah game was my least favorite game ever.
Early in the season.
Yeah, where Utah basically sat 4 of their top 5 scorers,
right,
and we still lost.
Yes, that's wild. No, the one for me was when Joker got ejected in the second quarter.
Oh yeah, and their coach
and the coach. Yeah, I still managed to lose that one.
That was, I think that was early, or no, that wasn't that
was in
early.
The middle of the streak.
We were 2-12 at that point.
Yeah.
That made us 2-13, and
I don't think I've watched much since then.
I was at the game before that, the Toronto game. In Toronto.
They got smoked. Oh, you were in Toronto.
Yeah, it was. What's that?
You were in Toronto.
I was in Toronto. It was my birthday was that week, so I just went for a couple days, and our friend Jacques was there with his family, and we were gonna meet up. And when we saw that the Pistons were playing in Toronto, we decided, well, we gotta go.
Yeah, totally.
And it was, yeah, that game was garbage. Like, we were down by almost 50 at one point.
Yeah. Just horrendous.
Yeah. So hasn't been a very fun season, and I canceled cable. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh no, good for you.
I canceled cable and I haven't signed up for Bally Sports. There's just no reason to invest in this team right now.
No, absolutely.
As much as like I love basketball and I'll watch any game, like it's just a little too frustrating. Plus, like the cost of cable is just outrageous.
Absolutely. No, I've been watching a lot though still. Even though the two teams that I signed up to watch were truly horrendous. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to watch the Pistons. I'm so excited." I keep wandering off from talking about like I was so excited coming to the season. I was like, "Yes, Asar is going to be the defense that this team needs. We're going to get the shooters back." Of course, the shooters were out for the first month or whatever, so that really sucked. I was like, and then Cade, man, Cade is back. And he's going to be so good. And everybody's going to finally see he's going to be the rock star. He's going to rival Wemby for the amount of highlights he gets. And he was just horrendous during the first month and a half. He's been actually pretty good since, although I think his turnover ratio has gotten much better in the last like 10 games. But he was just so absolutely horrific during the first 20 games of the season. Like, it was unwatchable how bad his turnover ratio was. Like,
yeah, and it was the same mistakes over and over again. It was two things. It was telegraphing passes that were just like he was just like lofting it, and then there was also dribbling into traffic.
Yeah,
and
without an intent. He would do this thing where he was, and I think he's still doing it. And this goes back to some criticism of Monty. He does this thing where he like dribbles into like the elbow, like in this sort of like sideways pattern. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody try to make that move. Like when dudes try to drive the lane, they're trying to drive. He's like not trying to drive. He's just trying to like get to the elbow and like, I don't know, figure out a pass from there. It's like meanwhile, nobody else is moving.
Yeah.
So he's doing an ISO where his play is to get to the elbow, and then he just like loses the ball because he's trying to fling it into Nowhereville.
And Monty has like an offensive philosophy too that's like not really playing into the strengths of any of our offensive players, which is like, I think
tell me about that because I don't feel like I understand his philosophy at all right now.
I think at the heart of it, it's like, you're going to make a split-second decision to do one of three things. You're either going to drive, pass, or shoot, and that decision has to be made very quickly. And the more you commit to those decisions, the smoother an offense can run. So we're just not seeing a team that's capable of processing that yet.
Right.
Clearly.
Well, Jaden Ivey is the one who's best at that.
You would think he does make some mistakes though.
No doubt, but he's young, but he's the best at it on this team.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely better than Cade at this point. I'm willing to be convinced otherwise, but I really struggle to see how Cade ends up being the superstar that we need him to be.
I don't know that he's gonna be like Jason Tatum or something, right? He's super smart, and like he's totally like a cerebral player, but he's not like this physically dominant player. He's not going to overpower anybody. Like he still gets bullied all the time. I don't know if that's veganism or something or just youth, but
okay, let me pause you and bring you back to Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. I haven't died. Don't worry.
Okay.
But we have a new decision to make, and it's one that I usually don't make the player participate in. I mean, the guest participate in, but now you have to. So in the game, you walk around the dungeon, and eventually you find these different altars like this one. This one looks kind of like a what does it look like to you? It looks like a crown on top of an altar, right? It's really a deck of playing cards of different colors on top of a little altar.
That's glowing.
Yep.
Okay.
And all these little altars that you'll find throughout the game are different gods that you could decide to worship. And then the gods give you different powers depending on what god it is. And so typically I only choose the god of war, god of battle, Akawaru. But now I'm trying to branch out, try new things. And we've encountered our first altar, and this one is from Nebulex Zoba, the Trickster. Unpredictable trickster god whose powers are invoked through magical packs of cards painted in the Ichor of Demons. Followers will be granted decks of cards as they traverse the dungeon and are encouraged to trust in the card to provide them with divine assistance. That could work out really nicely, right? However, the trickster can also ensure that fortune favors the bold. I don't know what that means. But basically, we're going to get cards from Nemlex, and it probably will help us when we need him.
All right.
And we're just... And I guess the question is, is it worth going down this very chaotic choice here for the giggles, or should I go with something more conservative?